Welcome to the Shit Creek Survivor Show, where we openly share our personal stories of getting stuck up our own shit creek without a paddle. The good, the bad, the ugly, the embarrassing, all the good stuff, right? But more importantly, celebrate and share how we got out of our own shit creek and got our lives moving in the right direction again. For those who are not familiar with the term stuck up shit creek without a paddle, it refers to situations, places, times, and circumstances we ended up in life that we never believed or could have even imagined we would end up. And after that, we never believed we'd get out of that situation, that that situation would define us. But we did. And this is where we share those stories so that those who are going through it right now know that they're not alone, not abnormal, that everyone's going through something, has gone through something, will be going through something, or is going through something. So past, present, future. Unfortunately, it gets a little hard nowadays to talk about this stuff because we live in this kind of everything is perfect, fake social media world where people act like everything has, is, and everything will be perfect. It's not. Quit bullshitting. All right. I'm joined again by my friend and former police partner, Dennis Kaufman. Dennis, how you doing today?
That's me. How you doing? I'm
It's
doing well, brother.
me.
Doing well. How you?
I am good. I'm living the dream. I'm talking to you.
Oh,
It,
wow. It's a nightmare then.
in the
Nightmares are
last
dreams too.
Yes, I have a lot of them every night. We'll discuss that in the future. But in the last episode, we did get a little bit more serious in the last two episodes. But in the last one specifically, we talked about addiction because I really kind of, alcohol was running my life after I got hurt. And I didn't even imagine I'd end up not only in the hole that I was in, but digging that hole deeper by alcohol. So we really kind of went into depth of like trying to understand addiction. Why would a person do that? Why would they, in my case, use alcohol, which is my kryptonite? It's something that will kill me. Why do I still want to drink it? It's absolute insanity, right? So we talked about those things, but now, and the reason we did that is because we wanted to leave the breadcrumbs that we thought were essential to getting individuals to moving their life in the right direction and moving on. It's one thing to say, yeah, go for it. But if you don't leave any information on how to do it, you're still floating in the dark. So we're trying to do our best with getting you the information that we use and that we've gotten from other people that they use to get better.
Just more tools for the toolbox.
More tools for the toolbox. Now, today, I thought we would talk about resilience. What do you think, Dennis?
Resilience. What is resilience?
Well, the definition of resilience, a good one that I
I knew you had
found,
a definition of it.
is the acceptance, understanding, processing, and growth from an emotional pain. Okay. Now, I thought for a long time, resilience is just being tough and strong. You know what I mean? Just like that's all it is. I'm going from one point to another. There will be nothing stopping me, that kind of deal, right? But along that process, I found myself living in a lot of anger. Okay. And I was trying to figure out if I'm going to bounce back from this, can I do it angry? I thought anger was good. That in my case, I was deserving to be angry and I could use it to whenever I wanted and pull it out, right? And then I found a definition of anger and it kind of changed me a little bit.
Okay. I was gonna say
And
because anger can be a good motivator for sure. Think about
well,
workouts. You put on angry music so you can work out stronger. But you're
that's
right. It's not going to be it's not the full answer. There's a better answer out there.
that's true. And I guess I should clarify, I found myself being angry all the time. Like all the time with my situation, with how I had to, do the work I needed to do. I was just angry a lot, right? And I thought it was okay for me to be angry, that I had the right to be angry. And then I found this definition, which kind of changed my tune. And it was that anger is actually my inability to manage the feelings that I'm experiencing in the moment. So that causes me
Right.
to lash out at someone. So anger and lashing out compared to anger, I guess are different, So it's how you handle that anger. I wanted
I
to
think
know
it's also important to note to point out though that you said you're angry all the time. It never. I mean, like being angry at first about a situation is normal. There's a normalcy to it, but it's if you
yeah,
continue to be angry for too long, then it kind of starts going to that gray area of now I'm getting into the self-destructive mode. And I
Yes.
think that's clearly where you were at. I think we've all been there in different situations. And again, it is important to kind of really look at yourself and know what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. And then just try to work on the good parts. Feed that good wolf inside of you, like that old Indian parable. But it's funny, your definition of anger reminds me of a definition about stress. I used to
What's
have a
that?
pen, and I wore all the time on my jacket. It said, stress is the confusion created when one's mind overrides the body's basic desire to choke the living shit out of some asshole who desperately deserves it.
That's a good one. That's a good. There are many definitions of anger. I love it. Yeah. That's really funny. And I think everyone can relate to that, that moment where you're like, should I choke this person? It's not.
Yeah, right. So mad you could choke somebody if you had the ability. Right, sure. But
Yeah.
living in that anger can't be the right answer.
No, and it's exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
Living in that anger seems like it's you against the world. Like you create this, I did at least, it's me against the world. The
Right,
world is almost like against me. They don't want me to get to where I'm going. I
right.
can visibly see people in my way. Why are they, all this kinds of stuff. And
Takes
I
a lot
would,
of energy to do that anger.
it's so exhausting. And what was happening to me is I knew that I couldn't survive in that angry world. So I would like do my attempt and say my prayer and like all that kind of stuff. 5 minutes later, I'm raging again. You know what I mean? I'm bouncing, ping ponging back and forth, and it must have been very odd to those who were watching me. One day I'm trying to be a good boy, and then all of a sudden, boom! I kind of snap. And it is exhausting to be that person, let alone to be around that person. I will say,
Well, you have to retrain your brain a little bit too.
yeah, absolutely,
Like you have to recognize a bad reaction to something, and then think about it, meditate on it, pray on it, however it works for you. While you're running, while you're talking to God, whichever in between, and then figure out what's a better way to respond to that. And listen, I'm just as guilty as you are about being angry for no good reason at somebody. Ask my wife with my road rage. I'm sure she can give you a lot of good laughs about those. But I'm working on it now. You try to say like, okay, I used to yell at somebody like this for no good reason. What I have no right to. I don't know what's going on in their life, and maybe I should just not react that way. Just take a deep breath and be like, maybe he's having a bad day too. Maybe he's lost. Maybe whatever. And don't try to take it so personal.
grace. Grace is. I didn't understand grace until I got out of this situation. Well, yes, I had been exposed to grace my whole life, forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. But grace is receiving something that you don't deserve. And I've received a lot of that in my life, I believe. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting right here. And how is it that I expect grace from others and then I don't give it?
Right.
So you know what I mean? It's like right in this place where it's like a balancing act of really how am I going to live? Like
Right.
I can be angry or I can be loving. But I don't seem to, in my situation, be able to do both at the same time. I'm unable to be like, well, this person deserves anger and this person deserves love. It's too hard to do because those views are in direct opposition of one another. So like
Yeah.
what you were talking about, like grace, right? Grace doesn't exist when you think someone deserves anger, when someone
Right.
deserves to be choked. You know what I mean? Hard to give that grace in those moments because I was looking
Oh,
around
yeah.
for, I was looking for people to attack. I mean, I looking at it now, and now that we're talking like out loud and like reflecting back on my therapy appointments, I was looking for people to inflict the pain on that I felt I had inflicted on me. So I was, in a way, living and thinking as a victim and that the world was against me, like I was kind of talking before. So I had to decide which goggles I was going to put on. Am I going to put on the goggles that I really seemed to fit well, which was anger, judgment, justice, all this kinds of stuff? Or do I put on the goggles that through those I see forgiveness, mercy, love, and kindness? So, one of the ways to decide which way you're going to do that is you got to figure out what way are you going to treat yourself.
Yep. Self love.
That's where it starts. You can't talk to yourself like you're an asshole and then talk to other people with love. It's too hard. You're living a double life, a double standard. So sometimes you really just have to, well, now I lost track of where I was going.
That's all right. The deciding to live in love is going to be easier than deciding to live in hate. Like I said, love yourself first so you can know how to love other people. Don't contradict by hate yourself and loving other people. Because you're right. If you're always saying to yourself, I'm a piece of shit, you're going to feel like a piece of shit and you're going to act like a piece of shit. Think
Yeah.
about it like when you buy a car. Whenever you buy a car, you see that brand car, that color car everywhere all of a sudden, where before you never saw it. It's
Yeah.
because you're thinking about it now. It's the same thing with evil thoughts and good thoughts. Repeat the good ones, banish the bad ones, and I mean, you're going to make mistakes, but recognize it and then keep moving forward.
But I wanted
Stay
both.
resilient, huh?
But I wanted both. I
Well, I know,
wanted
of course, you want your cake and eat it too. What? You're a human being? Oh my gosh, I never knew it.
I wanted both. I felt I had a position of, you know, I I could judge others and all that kind of stuff. And
But you're not the judge, are you?
no,
You're not the
not
judge of this life. It's not your place to be the judge. It's not your place to seek retribution. Somebody else is going to do that for you.
then why is it so ingrained in me to go after people who've either hurt me or my family? Like
It's the
why?
storyline of every movie. John Wick, his dog died. Now he gets to go kill everybody. Of course, it's a human fantasy, and we get to see it all the time in different movies and shows. So it feeds into that side of you a little bit, that bad wolf, if you will. But recognizing entertainment is one thing, and just trying to do it in real life would be the other thing. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Did you know imagining it has almost as bad of an effect on you as actually doing it? Because you're literally craving hurting someone while
wow,
you or
yeah, I can see that.
myself, I was craving to feel better. So, like you just said, thank you for saying that. I wanted both. I wanted my cake and to eat it too. I wanted you to be punished and me to be set free. That doesn't sound very even, right?
But to set yourself free is to forgive somebody, and it's okay to not. If you don't want to be around somebody, you can still love yourself enough to remove yourself from their presence
Yeah,
because you know that they're a negative influence on you or a negative influence on your mental patterns and thoughts.
yeah,
So love yourself enough to remove yourself from those situations too. But that doesn't mean you have to seek retribution for them or seek out hate or actively wish hate upon them or bad things upon them. You
right.
just love them as a human being from afar and
Hmm.
celebrate their victories. Yeah, it's so much easier to celebrate somebody's victories. It makes you feel good when you're happy for somebody else.
Yeah,
And once you do that a couple times, you can be addicted to that, just as addicted as you were to the hate. My opinion, of course. I'm not a professionally trained person on all of this. Just before anybody like runs me a new one for not having a PhD.
we're just openly discussing something that
Just
most
openly
people,
discuss it, man.
yeah,
Just talking, just bullshitting.
yeah. And that reminds me of something like sometimes we worry about people like judging us, right? But
Yeah.
really, those are observers of what's going on in your world. And in your world, I hope that you are the one on the stage, you are the one on the arena floor actually doing the work in your life. And if people from the stands are whispering bullshit, they're doing it from the stands. They're
Yeah,
not,
and also I learned this one a long time ago, and it's another one. Great advice to give. It's hard to take. Trust me, I'm trying to all the time. But other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
that's a tough one. Because I imagine people's opinion of me. Like, that's the
Right.
bad thing. Like, I put on those anger goggles, and like, I'm now imagining what you are thinking now about me, what you were thinking about me, why you did what you did,
And
what
you could
that,
be right, and you could be wrong. They
but
may
what
not have had any
happened,
of those thoughts about you.
but
Well,
regard,
you wasted all that effort.
that's
Sorry, I
it.
keep interrupting you.
No, that's it.
You're
Because
wasting all that effort to yeah.
I'm creating a fake scenario that is creating a real emotional response. And I'm reacting to that emotional response in
Quite the whirlpool you got yourself in, isn't it? Yeah, I'm still here. Quite the little whirlpool you're in, just going down.
Yeah, and it's insanity. So at some point you have to choose. I'm either gonna I have to choose one of these guys. Putting them back on or switching them back and forth is not working. And you mentioned something to me early as we were prepping for the episode about the wolf you feed. And I think that's a really good example. Could you say that again, please? It's like
Yeah,
you have to
I'm not sure if I shared
decide.
that one yet. It's an old Indian parable where the younger Indian talks to grandfather Indian and says, "Hey, grandfather, why do I like to good things and bad things? Why do I have good thoughts and bad thoughts?" And the grandfather says, "Well, that's because you have two wolves living inside of you. One is an evil wolf that only wants to do hate, and one is a good wolf that only wants to do good." And he said, "Well, how do I get one to survive?" And grandfather says, "Well, it's the one you feed. So feed the one you want to survive.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to rule your life more? Which one do you want to have more influence from, the positive or the negatives? So feed it. And you feed it yourself mentally, even just thinking thoughts about yourself, about other people, about what other people think about you. And that's not
Hmm.
feeding the good wolf. There's no way. That's just a waste of time.
And you think it doesn't matter entertaining those angry wolves like thoughts? For me, it does. It does.
Yeah.
It does matter. I wanted it to not matter. Like it's just a thought. It's just, something going on in my head. It matters. It affects your mental health, which affects your world.
I mean, if somebody doesn't have this much of a struggle with having a couple bad thoughts and maybe they make a living out of it by writing books or something, then
That's
in that
true.
case, it's working for you. It's working for you in a positive way. And you can't argue with that. If you have good intentions and good intentions come out and good comes out of it, then it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, good deal. So we've had a chance to kind of talk about resilience and what it is, but it seems like at the core of resilience, whether you're 10 foot tall, 2 inches tall, whether you're whoever you are, the main thing about resilience and you getting to call yourself resilient is just not quitting. It's simply drawing a line in the sand that no matter how this goes, good, bad, or in between, I'm not going to quit. Now, I used to think, and again, the reason we're doing this so you can learn through my mistakes, I thought that meant, okay, I've got a goal and I'm going from point A to point B. Whatever gets in the way of me, I'm going to destroy. That's not that's not actually being resilient. I've learned. Resilient is the guy who's cool and calm in the room when something goes wrong and doesn't think about why it went wrong or what should have been done to stop it from going wrong. They just go, okay, so what do we do now? Simple as that. That's resiliency. When I was sent by my therapist, or my therapist had me call my wife from the therapy appointment, admitting to her that I'm drinking again, and I was actually hiding bottles of alcohol in the house. When she responded and said, "Okay, what do we do now?" That is resilience. That is strength, and it's not.
You got yourself a good one, brother. You really did. She's taking such good care of you. I hope you never forget that.
She's my angel. She's literally my guardian angel, and I. It's it. There's no words to put it into the thanks that I've. It's just so hard. I'm just gonna try
You
my
don't
whole
have
life.
to. Yeah.
Like,
Just be resilient yourself. Just be resilient yourself. Spread love. Keep doing things for good reasons and good intentions. And if you make a mistake, back it up a little bit and restart over.
like resilience is in the line when you're getting married, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Like we will be resilient. We will fight whatever comes, or not fight. We will address whatever comes our way, and we're gonna make it no matter what. So one of the things I wanted to bring up here is where people can decide to be resilient. So as far as resilience goes, Dennis, do you think that we're born with resilience and that ability to be like, no matter what, I'm not going to quit? Or is that something we learn? What would you say in your opinion?
I mean, honestly, it's a little bit of both, but I mean, it feels like my gut reaction to that question is we're born with resilience. I mean, it's in our bodies. Our
Yeah,
bodies are very resilient to infections and diseases and things. It
yeah,
knows how to shut the right things down and pump out the system to get the bad stuff out. I think what's there, I would say being exposed to the sin in the world, the evil in the world, bad in the world, a negative in the world, it could be really easy to start being negative. and then you'll have to learn to be resilient again as you go through life. We do it. You just talk about how it worked for you in a really big experience, and it can happen in big experiences, and it can happen in little experiences.
Hmm.
I'm on my third marriage. If I gave up after the first one, I wouldn't have found the third one, right? For better or worse, she's stuck with me.
That's amazing. God's a
But
gangster. Like God
oh
always has
man,
a
so
plan.
much.
You just have to like hang in there and just be like,
The
whatever, I'm
original
along
OG,
the
right? He's the original OG. You think there's something a joke he couldn't think of first, or no, or already heard, or play it
ride.
on us? Right. I used to always say that too, like God just playing jokes on me all the time. That's why I had bad luck. And in some ways, maybe it's true. Maybe he's trying to test my resilience and get me to grow in those ways. Like
You
they
know,
said in the movie Noah's Ark movie, one with Steve Carell, and God is played by
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, yeah. And the wife said he's talking to him when he's being a waiter, and he goes, "You think when people pray for patience, God just gives them patience, or does He put them in situations where they can grow their patience?" I think that's, I mean, that's resounded with me a little bit when I heard that. It's like, wow, that's probably a lot truer than you realize. That's probably like right on spot, and that's the reason why we go through some tough situations because we're trying to be a better all around spirit and soul and learn from this experience of being on this earth.
Yeah. I think that's probably, well, first off, that movie got a lot of flack, I guess, for just being way over the top expensive and not bringing in enough money. I love that movie because of that scene. And also the fact that Steve Carell, like all he said is like, help me bring my family together. And suddenly now he's been tasked with putting together, another arc and all this kind of stuff. I really think someone should watch that movie because that moment is beautiful. She's actually left and she's decided she's taken the children away. This is too crazy. This is too insane. What's happened to my husband and all this kinds of stuff. And when they stop to get food, I guess, and he's playing the waiter, and it's just he drops that nugget on her. Like, do you think if you want your family to be closer, God's just going to make it happen? Or is he going to put you through situations that's going to require you to get close to almost survive? And that
Yeah.
was, I'll admit, like, I heard that. And for a long time, I was doing a lot of like YouTube motivation watching. Like, as I was going through kind of like the grind in the first couple of years, like I would need to like put on motivation and be like, all right, today it's happening. You know what I mean? And I would find that and kind of shoot off like a rocket. But yeah, it's yeah, absolutely. I lost my train of think. Being shot in the head doesn't help you with a short-term memory. It really does. Or being on a
Yeah, all of that I'm sure has effects. Shoot, stress, PTSD, that could start to eat at you and stuff
yeah,
too. I know. Yeah. Plus age, we're getting older.
yeah, absolutely,
With all that damn drinking you did when you were younger.
absolutely. I'm a legend, legend. So now that like we've decided, we're like, all right, fuck this. I'm drawing the line in the sand. For me, it was like I will not die by drinking. I will do. I don't care what happens in my life, whatever happens. It will not involve drinking. I don't want to be in that last moment again of being like, fuck, I'm not sober. You know what I mean? Like that would suck. My whole goal is to die sober. And I did find though that I had to put my head down and I really had to focus on like my own world and what was going on because if I started looking at other people who I believed were going through the same thing or was comparing, things you shouldn't do, they say comparison is the thief of joy. So I really had to put my head down to get it done and stay focused. What other ways do you think people could really kind of put the pedal down? I used to call it like a push. I'd like get to like a Sunday, I'd be like, this week, are the top goals. These are getting done. These are SMART goals. These are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So I need to set the specific goals. What do I want to accomplish? They need to be measurable. How long do I have to achieve them? Achievable means the steps that need to be done to get that goal done are possible. Relevant, why do you want to achieve this goal? So that's almost like where your passion is. and timely, how long will you have to achieve this goal? Actually, I think I double dipped on that.
It was just really important.
Yeah.
It's so
So
important you had to say it twice.
exactly. So what I had to start doing is because I was comparing myself to other people's journey and what I imagined their journey was. Even saying out loud sounds crazy right now because I'd be like, oh, they went here, they went there. And I was imagining the steps that they took. So I had to put my head down and focus on what I was doing. And I'm very much like I have to focus on the step I'm on kind of person. If I start thinking about how long it's going to take in the future and how many days and years and whatever, I'm going to start getting a little depressed. Okay, that's just the way I work personally. So I want specific SMART goals. So SMART goals are actually, it's an acronym. The S is for specific, the M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for relevant, T is for timely. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty cool, right? So that's one of the top things I got from my master's classes, believe it or not.
Yeah, figure out how much
I
that
messed
cost.
Yeah, I got to figure out how much this costs, but look it up. SMART goals, they really did help. If you are like me, you need to take one step at a time and focus on those steps, right? So I had to really kind of get moving. And what I would do is on a Sunday, I would prep for the week ahead. And I'd be like, these are the things I'm going to get done. And no matter what, and I would start doing those things. And just by setting those goals, there'd be some days where I didn't get it done. That's okay because that meant I had to readjust and figure out what am I doing the next day then. It's about keeping it moving, not focusing on basically each cog moving perfect. It's just we're moving the machine this way. Oh, it doesn't work that way. Let's figure out which way it does work instead of just trying to push straight through it, only having like a
But at
blinder
least you
on.
still have a plan, and that plan helps keep you guided.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people do that too, like when they're make an outline before they give their speeches, and have the outline of your intro and some of the basic stuff you want to talk about. It won't have every single word written down, so you're not just reading from a piece of paper.
Hmm.
And then, I mean, I kind of had to go that way when I was given just to try to stay on contact or on, and what am I trying to say? I don't know. Just to stay on point of where I was trying to go in the conversation. See, I don't have an outline right now. That's why I'm bouncing all over the place.
Oh, that's all right.
But
That's all right.
I, I'm not much like that in real life, though. Really, with everything else, like I think I'm a little bit more spontaneous. Like I'll wake up in the morning, maybe do a little prayer, take some vitamins, do some stretching, and it's like, okay, let's have a good day today. Let's think about some positive things, have some good thoughts, and then go out into the world, and something bad will happen. And instead of right away, being mad and bouncing into that anger part, go, okay, no, we said we're gonna have a good day. You're not gonna respond that way to this time. And then it's like, okay, well, what I need to do around the house? I always have something to do around the house, so let's go do something. Or I have an appointment today. I'll go do my appointment today. But I think if it works for you to really have the outline written out and all that goal stuff, I like that acronym for SMART and how that could be really beneficial for people. And
Yeah.
it'd probably be more beneficial for me too, probably. But I don't know. I'm stubborn and I'm more spontaneous with my plans usually.
So when I first started doing SMART goals, when it was really relevant to my recovery, it started with getting sober. And it really was, I will not drink today. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and relevant, timely. You know what I mean? Like it was that basic. Today,
Okay.
on today's date, I will not drink. I had to back it up sometimes and be like, you know what? No matter what happens, I will not drink in the next hour. And when I get past that hour, then I'll figure out how that next hour is going to go. But it is
Wow.
really just like they can be not simple because that's a huge thing, but it can be very, very focused on a primary thing that you were trying
Right.
to
It's a small
attain.
rock,
Yeah. And then maybe
but you're moving
a
a
couple
rock.
months. Yeah. And then, like, maybe a couple weeks later after being sober, I went to a lot of meetings when I first got sober. It was like, I'm going to a meeting today. I'm going to a meeting today. And then I was able to, from that develop bigger goals. So now that I got within the doors, what's my next goal? Well, I should get a book. I should at least have the book. So I have got a reference of what they're talking about in AA, which is the big book. It's right here. I actually have one. And it basically just documents what AA is, the steps, the traditions, all that kind of good stuff. but I had to break it down step by step. And I believe that's one of the reasons that the AA program is a step by step process. Because if you were to
Okay.
look at getting sober from the beginning and the journey it will take to the end, it's what defeats people trying to get sober in Alcohol Anonymous the most. They're looking too far into the future and not focusing in on today.
Okay.
So
I can
even
see that
that
too.
is a good.
But then if
And then
they have one mess up, then they'll just stop instead of readjusting and coming back and trying to start over if you have to. I could see that.
yeah, and if you fuck up, like if you screw up, it's not the end. The only like the biggest thing is like what's the old saying? It's like it's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get up. That's all it
Right.
is. Like
As
Rocky
long as you
is
get up one more
resilient.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Rocky's resilient. He's like a punching bag in those movies. You know what I mean? But all it's showing is a person being beaten who has decided, I'm not going to quit. You're going to have to knock me out or kill me. Simple as that. And I believe there's a lot of people listening who have stories of resilience that I think they should share with us. Now, they could do that in an anonymous way where we would share the story without ever even knowing their name if they didn't want to let us know their name.
Just
Or
read
if
it
they
off the email.
yeah, just read it off the email or come on the show and share your story anonymously. And or if you choose to just share like we are, just put your name out there. Who cares? It's just another person who is going through something. You know, there's going to be another episode the next week, someone else, another episode the next week is someone else. And we're talking about individuals' story of resilience. And one of the things I did want to bring up is that a group of people can be resilient together. Okay. And one of the biggest examples of this is, I believe, was when England was at the beginning of World War II. France was occupied by Hitler, and the next step on the Nazi conquest would have been the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom, the king and the prime minister were given an opportunity to sign a document for peace. That would have basically meant Germany could occupy England, but things would be run by England, that the Nazis wouldn't interfere. This was the promise. And that wealthy landowners would retain their lands and wealth and all that kind of good stuff. And a lot of people in Parliament or in the English government believed that this was the only chance for survival for the United Kingdom. Right. And the prime minister suddenly becomes Winston Churchill. And Winston Churchill, if you haven't seen the movie, great movie, talks about him in
I
his
have not.
bunker. Yeah.
Kind of like let's see it now.
Yeah, it's really good. And I'm just going to read part of the speech that he gave to Parliament saying, no, we will not sign a document. We will not be controlled, regardless of what that means. And he, at the end of his speech, the last two paragraphs, I'm going to read it. Please forgive me if I mess it up. I have myself full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once again able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. This is the resolve of His Majesty's government, every man of them. This is the will of Parliament and the nation. The British Empire and the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, will defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. Even through large tracts of Europe, or even though Europe and many old and famous states have fallen or may fall in the grip of the Gestapo and all the odious apparatus of the Nazi rule, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And even if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or a part of it were to be subjugated and starved, Then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the New World, with all its power and might, steps forth to rescue and liberate, and for the rescue and the liberation of the old. Now, forgive me.
So that was just before America was in the war.
Exactly.
Because he's saying, like, we'll keep fighting. Hopefully, America will come help us if we need it at the last minute. It became a moot point because Japan got involved.
Yeah, absolutely. But
And,
he's
and then
really
America
saying,
wasn't.
yeah, he's
We're not going to
drawing
quit.
the line. He's going, regardless of what happens to us, we will not give over our homeland or lives to these people.
Right.
Simple as that.
We're fighting to
And
the death.
yeah, yeah,
We're
no
winning
surrender.
or we're dying. Never give up. Never surrender.
Yeah. You know, I heard that they used to, it's either the Romans or the conquistadors used to try to forcibly have men build resilience, and they did that by burning the boats when they landed on the shore when they were about to attack someone. They literally burned their own boats, so there was no option of retreat or surrender. Pretty cool, huh? I'd be pretty pissed at my boss. I'd be like, "You're burning the boat. You know
Yeah.
we're gonna need the boat."
Yeah, I plan on winning and going back to see my kids and my wife. Come on now.
We need the boat. But,
We'll build a new one.
yeah, absolutely. So to kind of finish up, I think that the really cool thing about resilience is there isn't a lot of secrets. It truly means not giving up and just drawing a line in the sand. Be like, okay, I'm not going to give up. So you can thump on me, you can push on me, you can whatever. I'm going to continue living my life this way. I will continue pushing to be my best. Hey Dennis, how do you find out if you're resilient?
Oh, man, I don't know.
You got to go through something. You got to
Well,
go
everybody
through
does. Everybody
Yeah.
has been resilient and come through things. And everybody's had moments where they haven't been as resilient as they should be, and they recognize it later. Yeah, everybody has a failed relationship. I mean,
Yeah, but what I'm
even if it's your high school girlfriend or boyfriend that you haven't, whatever, you still have a failure, and you use those failures to learn and to be better in the next situation. Now, hopefully, some of these really bad situations and trauma, like going to war or getting shot in the face, hopefully those aren't things that happen
right.
again.
Yeah,
But you learn the resilience that you needed to get through this trauma from past
going
experiences where you were resilient.
exactly. So what I think is interesting is the only way you find and grow resilience is when you're going through the pain. It doesn't matter what you think you'll do before you get into the situation, because words without action don't usually go together, right? So what I'm trying to say is like you don't understand if you could handle the heat of the fire until you're in the fire. And that's a bummer, right? Because we're so hesitant. Well, what if I can't handle it? The only way you know is by going through it. And I love the saying, God's not going to give you more than you can handle today. Okay? So what's
Feels like he
cool
gets pretty
about it
close sometimes, doesn't it?
yeah. And it's so funny that like the heroes we see in like movies and all that kind of stuff, they're not the ones who are like everything goes right. It's usually people resonate with the stories of people getting knocked over but then getting back up. That's what people look for, are people
Yeah.
who've been broken but somehow made it out, because then that gives them hope.
Yeah.
And I
Even
think
broken crayons can color.
I like it. That's great. That's so good. That is so good. Even broken
That's a
crayon.
shirt. I've seen it on a shirt somewhere or a meme or something. But yeah, it popped in my head, so I let it pop out.
We'll put that on the website. And, and what's cool is if you look like in history, those who have like been heroes, and all that kind of stuff, they're ones who just didn't conform or weren't forced to do and go against the way they wanted to live. Because you can control your mind, can't control what's going on around you. And kind of an example of that is the apostles, right?
Yep.
And I don't know that much about the apostles, but when I found out that basically every single one of them, except for one, was tortured and killed for not renouncing that they believed in their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. They wanted to make these men
I think
say,
only one lived and died of old age. It was, and you said it earlier. John wrote the Book of Revelations,
yeah,
but he also survived being boiled in oil and an upside down crucifixion or something. He survived a couple really bad ones, and
it's
then they finally
crazy.
just put him on an island and let him
Yeah,
die. But I liked it. It was a famous atheist scientist or something said, I didn't believe in Jesus until I heard about the 12 disciples. Getting
really.
12 people to agree on an elaborate story and stick to it through all the pain and suffering they went through, when it could have been so easy just to be like, you're right, Jesus didn't do all those miracles. No, don't put me out of my misery. They never did it. They stuck to their story all alone. And I
Yeah,
mean, you know anything about humankind and humanity and how you think about things, talk about how the body's resilient and you try to, you're always trying to live through things. How easy would it be to be like, I didn't see it. I don't believe it anymore. You're right.
yeah, yeah.
Stop the torture. Just stop.
Yeah,
But the fact
and
that 12 people kept their story straight and for many years and through many horrific deaths,
yeah,
that
and
says something.
even as a Christian, just to catch anybody else up who kind of doesn't know the story. So, Jesus taught us to love and all that kind of stuff when he was here, and he had these apostles who kind of he was teaching them along the way, right, to do the same thing. And so when Jesus was crucified, they were pretty mad that he had said that he was the Son of God, the Lord and Savior, all that kind of stuff. Again, this is just very overhead from what I understand, right? So
Yeah.
Jesus wouldn't say that he wasn't the Lord and Savior, so he was killed. So then they had these 12 guys who went on in their lives to preach kind of what Jesus had done and what they had witnessed. They were literally witnesses. And all these witnesses at one point after Jesus was gone was brought into a situation where they were said, if you don't say that Jesus is bullshit, we're going to kill you. And they said, well, I can't say that because it's not the truth. And if it were me, if they were like, okay, well, we're going to we're going to crucify you, or we could swiftly kill you. The only difference between the two is one is you say that Jesus is real, one is you say that what you've been saying is wrong and that you renounce it. And none of them took the swift kill. None of them chose self-preservation, which is insane. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you look at it, like Peter was crucified upside down in Rome. John was miraculously survived being boiled in oil, but was banished to the island of Patmos, where he wrote the book of Revelation. He was the only one who survived the tortures. Matthew was martyred in Ethiopia by a sword. Bartholomew, I don't even know the names of all these people, flayed to death with a whip. So that means literally whipped to the point where his skin separated, split apart, and then he died. Andrew, crucified on an X-shaped cross in Patras, Greece, after being whipped by 7 soldiers. Thomas was stabbed by a spear in India while establishing the church. Jude, killed with arrows after refusing to deny his faith in Christ. Matthias, stoned and then beheaded after replacing Judas's Iscariot, Iscarot. I'm not sure even what that is. And then Paul, tortured and beheaded by Emperor Nero in Rome. So these were people who literally got that question. Okay, simple as that. These are just words. You know what I mean? I would really easily been able to been like, you know what, these are just words. It doesn't really matter. God doesn't want me to be in pain, whatever. But they had it was so instilled in them, this story and their purpose of carrying on the same story. It's just nuts.
Well, imagine if somebody tried to come to you and say that all of your pain is made up. You weren't really shot in the face. It wasn't really everything you're thinking you went through. You didn't really go through it. So just admit it. So we all know that it's not as bad as it really is. So you can stop telling people all these little stories. Just get it over with and say it. You'd be like, no, I lived through that. It made me a better person. I grew from it. I'm actually kind of proud of it all and how I ended up because of all this pain. You're not going to want to. Yeah. You're not going to backstep on that story at all. And apparently they didn't either. And it does speak to the resilience. That's for darn sure. That's for darn sure.
For sure. So, those of you out there who are going through your own shit creek, like I said before, please send us your stories so that they will help other people. You can either send them to us anonymously and we can read your story, but you can ask us to not share your name and we read your story. We could share your name and read your story, or we would love to have you on the show where you can share your stories of resilience and bouncing back stronger, actually taking what was going to take you down, not letting it define you, and turning into something that made you stronger. Dennis, do you have any wise words to send the people off after this
Uh,
episode?
now let's do it with an antidote, a funny little antidote from
Antidote.
a little antidote from my time when I was in the basic training in the army. We just
Okay.
got done with hand-to-hand combat, and when we did our hand-to-hand combat training, it was kind of jujitsu, kind of judo kind of stuff. But the instructors yelled out the word "Kia" whenever you're doing a hit, and it's something to do with to help you transform the energy from your lungs into your hand to make the punch more, whatever.
The
We're dumb
people need,
recruits.
we need an example. Okay, so what is the
Well, it's like
noise?
"Kia." That's the noise. "Kia," right?
Yeah. Okay.
"Kia," stuff like that, right?
All right.
Well, we were practicing it outside of the training when we weren't supposed to be practicing it. We were in the laundry room doing laundry or something. About 3 or 4 of us are sitting around practicing some of the things that we learned that day. The drill sergeant walked in and said, "No, you're not supposed to be doing this outside of the training area because, the training area has the pads and all the safety issues and stuff." So it's a legit complaint, but drill sergeants
Yeah.
don't want to miss an opportunity to mess with a young recruit if they get an opportunity to mess with a young recruit. And I
Of
was
course
the
not.
young recruit that he decided to mess with. Now, little backstory. This would have been in 1991. No, 94. This was in 1994 in basic training. Vogue by Madonna was a pretty popular song around that time. Remember? Vogue?
I do
Vogue?
remember.
Yeah. I don't even have to sing the words, right? Everybody can remember Madonna's Vogue. This drill sergeant made me do Kia to Vogue for like 30 seconds in front of everybody, just to embarrass me for practicing this hand-to-hand combat outside of the practice scenario. And it was something like this. Kia! 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 I had to do that for like 30 seconds or longer. It felt like 30 minutes. Kia! Kia! Kia!
That's super funny. That's super funny. And to round it out, what was he building inside of you? Brilliance.
Resilience. Yeah. He absolutely had to break you down and build you up. That's for sure.
Yeah. No matter what happens, you keep going. You
And
know.
I'm friends with him on Facebook now. Drill Sergeant Johnson. If you happen to be watching this, that was you. That was for you.
That's super funny. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story and being here, Dennis. Again, if you have stories to send us, www.shitcreeksurvivorpodcast at gmail.com. You can also check out our website at www.shitcreeksurvivors.com. And if anyone needs any extra information on PTSD or trauma, please check out www.ptsdsupport.org and see if you can get some information from there. And besides that, thank you for being here. Go out, be resilient. All that means is not quitting. You're stronger than you know. All righty?
Absolutely.
All righty. Love
Thank
you,
you,
buddy.
Cameron. Love you too, bro. Have
All
a
right.
good one.